Chapter 3 of Black Myth Wukong delves into profound themes of enlightenment, ambition, and the perils of spiritual pride. As Wukong confronts Yellowbrows, the chapter explores the consequences of forsaking wisdom for power. This battle is not just physical but spiritual, highlighting the fragile line between enlightenment and corruption, destiny and delusion. In the original Journey to the West novel, the Yellowbrows Buddha was a servant boy to Maitreya, whose primary task was to help his master play the sounding stone. When Maitreya was away, the servant stole two powerful items, the human sack and golden symbols, and escaped to forge his own path as a demon lord. He transformed the sounding stone into a formidable wolf's teeth club, his weapon of choice. In his bid for power, Yellowbrows created a counterfeit Lei temple, Thunderclap Temple, and disguised himself as the Buddha, with his minions posing as the Buddha's followers. Tang Sanzang, Zhu Baji, and Xiao Wujing were deceived by this ruse, mistakenly believing they had reached their destination, only to be captured by the false Buddha. His ultimate goal is to achieve Buddhahood and attain immortality, journey to the true Thunderclap Temple on Mount Lingshan, and bring the sacred Buddhist scriptures back to the Tang Emperor himself. Sun Wukong eventually confronted Yellowbrows, but found himself trapped in the golden symbols. Despite bringing divine reinforcements to aid him, they too fell into Yellowbrow's human sack trap. At the critical moment, Maitreya appeared and devised a plan for Sun Wukong to transform into a watermelon. Unaware of the trick, Yellowbrows consumed the watermelon, and Wukong caused immense pain from within the demon's stomach, forcing Yellowbrows to surrender. In the end, he was taken back by Maitreya. In Black Myth Wukong, the Yellowbrows Buddha is reimagined with deeper connections to the Buddhist lore and his own philosophical struggle. He was originally a disciple of the Buddha, sharing his journey with another disciple, Jin Chanzi, who later reincarnated as Tang Sanzang, Wukong's master. However, the two disciples diverged in their understanding and approach to enlightenment. Yellowbrows believed that his path to enlightenment was superior and set out to prove it. The entire conflict in Chapter 3 of the game is driven by Yellowbrow's desire to demonstrate that his perspective on enlightenment is the correct one by creating a mirror version of Jin Chanzi's journey. Yellowbrows constructs his own Thunderclap Temple, a twisted reflection of the true temple on Mount Lingshan, as a symbol of his defiance against the established order of the Buddha. The Four Disciples. Yellowbrows recruits 4 disciples whose names and attributes directly oppose those of Tang Sanzang's companions. Non-void represents the opposite of Wukong, which means enlightenment from emptiness, void. Non-able opposes Baji, whose name, Zhu Wuneng, means enlightenment from abilities. Non-pure opposes Xiao Wujing, whose name means enlightenment from purity. Non-white opposes the white dragon horse, Bailongma, that Tang Sanzang rode. This reimagining of the Yellowbrows Buddha adds layers of philosophical conflict and character motivation, making him a more complex and formidable adversary in Black Myth Wukong. During the encounter with Yellowbrows, Sun Wukong is captured and imprisoned within a pair of golden symbols. In a desperate bid for freedom, Wukong summons the Guardian of 5 Quarters, the 6 Gods of Light, the 6 Gods of Darkness, and the 18 Guardians of Monasteries by making a magic sign and reciting a spell. Despite their combined efforts, they are unable to free him. The Jade Emperor responds by dispatching the 28 constellations to subdue the fiends and rescue the pilgrims. Kang Jin Loong attempts to use his horn to pierce through the symbols. Wukong then transforms his staff into a steel drill, bores a hole into the tip of the horn, shrinks himself to the size of a mustard seed, enters the hole, and instructs Gullet the Gold Dragon to pull his horn out. However, in the game, Wukong has now become a fugitive, hunted and punished by heaven. All those who once did the great sage big favors are also being questioned or punished, including Kang Jin Loong, who now represents a different persona as Kang Jin Star. Under these circumstances, Kang Jin Loong chooses to serve under Yellowbrows, who now opposes both the Celestial Realm and the Buddha, establishing his own Buddhist realm at New Thunderclap Temple. He successfully expelled or manipulated all heavenly forces like the Turtle and Snake Generals and the Guardian of Five Quarters sent by Bodhisattva Guoshiwang. Now, as one of the 28 constellations, Kang Jin Loong has also become Yellowbrow's Macaque Chief. In the original Journey to the West novel, the Macaque Chief is referred to as the red-buttocked horse monkey, one of the 4 celestial primates. The other 3 primates are the 6-eared macaque, the long-armed gibbon, and the stone monkey of numinous wisdom, who is none other than Sun Wukong. However, in the game, the Macaque Chief is depicted as a subordinate to Sun Wukong. Following Wukong's death, he became a wanderer, struggling to survive in a world without his former leader. Eventually, he was recruited by Yellowbrows. Yellowbrows said to the monkey, "In this world, the weak are often oppressed, while the strong act with impunity. The suffering you endured was ultimately due to a lack of power. Think about it. If you had the abilities of that monkey who wreaked such havoc in the Celestial Palace, it would have been others who suffered, not you." Recalling the bitterness and hardships of the past years, the Macaque Chief couldn't help but shed tears. Overcome with emotion, he prostrated himself at the feet of Yellowbrows, kowtowing repeatedly, pledging his loyalty to the new master. This version highlights the contrast between the Macaque Chief's past and his desperate search for survival, culminating in his allegiance to Yellowbrows. The third prince of the kingdom of Sahali originally hailed from a distant land before becoming a disciple of Bodhisattva Guoshiwang, renowned for his ability to subdue Yaoguais. This skill was precisely what the third prince sought, as his homeland was plagued by rampant Yaoguais. After the Destined One bested the Yellow Wind Sage, the third prince was relieved to learn that the sage had been sent back to Mount Lingshan, allowing him to focus on his mountain practice undisturbed. However, whispers of a grand ceremony at the New Thunderclap Temple soon caught his attention. With his master's permission, he set out with his 4 captains to investigate, suspecting Yellowbrows of foul play. Unfortunately, they were met with a crushing defeat. The 4 captains, bewildered by evil spells, have now bowed before Yellowbrows and become his devotees. Captain Wise Voice. The first captain debated with Yellowbrows and was deluded. Now he sings beguiling chants in the dungeon to incite surrender. Captain Kalpa Wave. The second captain was transformed into a lotus flower blooming at the temple gate. Captain Void Illusion. The third captain threw his weapon at Yellowbrows, who broke the captain's limbs and reattached them with those of others. Captain Lotus Vision. The fourth captain was struck by Yellowbrows's teeth club, piercing his body, and eyes grew out of every hole. Driven mad, the third prince blinded himself and deafened his ears, muttering incessantly in the dungeon. In Chinese Taoism, the turtle and snake together symbolize Xuanwu, the truly valiant great emperor, one of the higher-ranking deities in Taoism. Xuanwu, one of the 4 symbols of the Chinese constellations, represents the north and the winter season and is typically depicted as a turtle entwined with a snake. The Turtle General and Snake General, embodying this powerful deity, were dispatched to subdue Yellowbrows. However, Yellowbrows showed no fear, wielding a spike-shaft cudgel that was both strong and flexible, engaging the 2 generals in fierce combat. The Turtle General sprayed water, and the Snake General breathed fire, nearly gaining the upper hand. But Yellowbrows suddenly threw an object into the bitter lake, which transformed into a 10-tailed golden fish. The fish rapidly grew upon contact with the water, entangling the Turtle General. The Snake General tried to assist his companion, but Yellowbrows unleashed a strange beast from a sack tied to his waist. This creature, with a gilded body and a Buddha's head, sharp claws on its feet, engaged in a fierce and evenly matched battle with the Snake General on the shore. As the battle raged, Yellowbrows stood on a cliff chanting. A freezing wind suddenly howled, and a heavy snowstorm descended, blanketing thousands of miles and freezing the lake's surface. Despite their immortality, the turtle and snake generals, bound by their natural instincts to hibernate in the cold, gradually grew weary. After countless rounds of combat, the turtle general, unable to endure any longer, sank into the icy depths of the water. His last sight was the snake general, unable to escape the frost and icy blades, being cut into several chunks on the shore. When the destined one arrived, they searched for the snake general, only to find his remains, a giant snake skeleton on the shore. Grief-stricken, the turtle general shed a tear for his fallen friend. All deities and gods sent to subdue Yellowbrows failed. Yellowbrows, building his own Buddhist realm, sought to prove his version of enlightenment as superior to that of his former fellow disciple, Jinzhanzi. This ambition adds depth to his character, transforming him from a mere trickster demon into a tragic and conflicted figure seeking validation through twisted means. In Chapter 3 of Black Myth Wukong, the intricate layers of meaning reveal a profound commentary on the nature of enlightenment, particularly through the distorted lens of Yellowbrows and his disciples. Yellowbrows attempts to validate his views on enlightenment by mirroring Jinzhanzi's journey, believing that enlightenment can be achieved through sin, struggle, joy, determination, and pleasure. This perspective encapsulates a fundamental misunderstanding of the Buddhist principle of non-self, which advocates for the relinquishment of ego and the acceptance of impermanence. By anchoring his beliefs in the notion that joy and sorrow are essential for enlightenment, Yellowbrows perpetuates an endless cycle of suffering rather than transcending it. His disciples' behavior and actions also violate this non-self principle. Non-able, his belief that his martial skills are sufficient illustrates a rigid adherence to self-identity. By assuming he possesses all the necessary skills, he blinds himself to the possibility of growth and learning, ultimately hindering his quest for enlightenment. Non-pure. This character embodies deceit and avoidance of duty. His refusal to embrace responsibility prevents him from experiencing true purity and self-realization. Enlightenment cannot be attained through dishonesty or shirking one's obligations. Non-white is an actor in an opera troupe who plays the jester, but cannot accept the truth that he is unfit to play the hero. He assumes his appearance is the problem, so he peels off the face of the actor playing the hero and wears it himself. Non-void, the young man in the short film at the end of Chapter 2, rescues a fox yaoguai and brings it home. But after having a nightmare that the fox will become an evil yaoguai in the future, he kills it. The fox dies in agony and becomes a spirit, asking the destined one to confront non-void. Why kill it just because of a dream? He replies that killing is not a sin if it prevents future harm, and that bearing the sin is a way to protect others. However, this is just an excuse and twisted logic. Non-void acted on an assumption, believing he knew the outcome, thus violating the non-self doctrine. The monks who froze to death on the way to the New Thunderclap Temple were non-void's disciples. Their blind faith in his teachings, which equate suffering with enlightenment, results in tragic consequences. This suffering does not lead to spiritual awakening, but rather to death and despair, highlighting the futility of their misguided beliefs. This stands in stark contrast to the four disciples of Tang Sanzang. Yellowbrows applies this belief in all his actions. There are always problems, and we need to solve them, and enlightenment is the way of solving. He finds or creates problems and solves them in twisted ways, always favoring his own benefit. For example, he took advantage of Kang Jin Star's conflict with the Celestial Realm to recruit her, and he exploited the Macaque Chief's misery to bring him into his fold. In essence, Chapter 3 serves as a critique of Yellowbrow's distorted understanding of enlightenment. His failure to grasp the true essence of non-self leads not only to his downfall, but also endangers those who follow him. This exploration of flawed ideologies invites a deeper reflection on the nature of suffering, the path to true enlightenment, and the importance of self-awareness in spiritual journeys. The short film ending of Chapter 3 once again showcases Yellowbrow's beliefs and his pursuit of validation through twisted means. He transformed into a soft-shell turtle Yaoguai and washed ashore near a poor fishing village. Every time he sliced open his skin, jewels and pearls flowed out. His claws were like magical pills, his saliva like non-aging ointment. He provided food by summoning tornadoes to pull fish onto land for the people. All his actions were meant to tempt the villagers to slice him open and take what was inside. But the villagers initially resisted. Instead, they believed he was a holy being. The villagers worshipped him with festivals and tributes, and in return, he gave them valuables and miraculous things. Running out of patience, he manipulated or hypnotized a man, and you can clearly see the man being pulled forward. The man stabbed the soft-shell turtle, causing it to bleed jewels. Then the villagers rushed uncontrollably to slice him open and take the treasure inside his body, ravaging his corpse until nothing was left. The ending shows the ravaged corpse of Yellowbrow's soft-shell turtle sitting on the beach, waiting for Jinchonzi to arrive, just to claim that he had won. His idea had won. Humans are evil, and the endless cycle of sorrow and ecstasy never ceases and is never sated. But Jinchonzi responded that Yellowbrows sowed chaos in the hearts of others just for the sake of winning. How absurd and pathetic. Yellowbrows replied, "If not for winning, why debate over means and ends?" Jinchonzi felt pity, not for Yellowbrow's beliefs, but for the fact that, as a Buddhist disciple, he showed no compassion for the suffering of others. For those who put winning above all else, they have already failed at enlightenment by allowing greed, anger, and delusion to get the better of them. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 3. Yellowbrow's distorted path to enlightenment shows us just how dangerous it can be to seek validation and victory at the cost of compassion and humility. His manipulation of human nature and his obsession with winning over truth serve as a tragic reminder that enlightenment cannot be found through greed, anger, or delusion. But the story is far from over. In the next chapter, we step into a love story, a tale that beautifully yet tragically highlights the different perceptions of love between a man and a woman. It is a story of contrasts, where the beauty of love collides with the sadness of misunderstanding, creating a bittersweet reflection on the nature of the human heart. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in Chapter 4.